Welcome to Boy Time Podcast. We're gonna get litty time, yeah. Oh, it's your Boy Time Podcast. Coming in with the slam dunk of a theme song.
Hi ho ho, it's me, Ahmed Best, back at it again with a new episode of the Boy Time Podcast. And as always, I'm joined by Babby. Hee hee hee. We have a exciting week, I suppose. We got Breath of the Wild 2. I don't know when I'm going to stop calling it that.
It just sounds so right.
Breath of the Wild 2. Tears of the Kingdom. I guess that does still kind of roll off the tongue. But
Yeah.
I'm just so used to calling it Breath of the Wild 2. So I'm going to probably call it that until it comes out. Well, maybe not. I'll probably just keep calling it that forever. But I guess people don't call Majora's Mask Ocarina of Time 2 when they might as well.
True.
So I don't know. But yeah, we got some gameplay. That's pretty exciting. Yeah, good podcast timing because it actually came out today as of us recording this. Bad.
Which never happens.
I know. But bad podcast timing because the trailer for the next Wes Anderson movie is coming out tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. At least we have some information.
We got something. But again, bad podcast timing because last week, the day after we recorded that, then Counter-Strike 2 was announced.
Of course.
So, I don't know. I don't think we're going to have a whole lot to talk about with that because neither of us were selected.
No, I've watched some of it.
Yeah. So we might.
There are a lot of different things going on, so.
Yeah. But we'll get there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was big. No, not really. We got a lot of like little things, which is good. So we'll start with gaming. I think the big thing in terms of like big gaming events is that we did get a date for Summer Games Fest this week. It is going to be June 8th. So a little bit before E3, which, yeah, I don't know what's going to be going on at
He's
E3.
like non-existent this year.
Yeah. Because Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation have all pulled out. And then today it was announced that Ubisoft is also not going to be there.
Oh, no.
So, like, who else is going to be there? Is this just going to... Devolver. Yeah, I would take that. Of, like, big name studios that we know are cooking stuff up that aren't a part of those, I guess, theoretically, we could get, like, Rockstar stuff if they want to do something about GTA 6.
Is Bethesda using the Xbox showcase now?
Bethesda would be Xbox, yes. So yeah, no Starfield at E3. There was another one I was just thinking of. Oh, From Software, if they wanted to do the Armored Core, if they want to do that.
If they don't do it at the PlayStation showcase.
Yeah, they do kind of have that tie there, but they aren't outright bought by PlayStation.
Yeah.
And honestly, they might do it at Summer Games Fest because they showed Elden Ring at Summer Games Fest.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that connection there.
True.
And I don't know. It seems like Summer Games Fest is a little bit more... it's made by... I mean, I know Jeff Keighley is very much a part of the industry and stuff, but it doesn't seem as corporate as E3 does sometimes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Just like Jeff Keighley putting on a show. And then sometimes he drops big things. Not all the time. But I think last year, like, I was just genuinely surprised that Elden Ring was at Summer Games Fest. So we'll see. Something's probably going to come out of there. I feel like at this point, Summer Games Fest might take over E3, which is a little bit unfortunate because I do like E3.
I feel like it's gone downhill a lot in the past couple of years, though.
Well, yes. Well, it hasn't been a thing for like the last
Yeah.
two because of COVID. And then this was like the first year they were going to come back, and then like everybody pulled out. But even like before COVID, Nintendo was pulled out, I think, which granted isn't like the biggest draw, but like that was kind of like the first catalyst. I mean, once they started doing their directs, then like everybody was like, yes, we need to do that. So, yeah, PlayStation. I feel like the last time PlayStation was there was in 2019 for Last of Us 2, where they got the banjo guy.
Yeah.
And then after that, they just kind of disappeared. And then Xbox, I think the first time they're not going to be there is this year, even though they are like a major shareholder of E3, so that doesn't really make any sense. So I don't know, but there you go. Summer Games Fest, June 8th. Mark your calendars, I suppose. I think E3 is going to be happening a couple days after that, which at this point is probably just going to be all of the indie games that aren't at Summer Games Fest. But I feel like both at like Summer Games Fest and the Game Awards, I feel like Jeff Keighley has done a pretty good job of building that kind of loyalty with indie studios. Where like we got like the Hades 2 is like got out, that was at the Game Awards. There was like another big indie thing at the Game Awards this year. I don't remember. I don't remember.
I forgot.
But I feel like that Jeff Keighley's done a pretty good job of at least promoting indie studios the same amount as he does the big AAA stuff, which I do appreciate a lot. So we'll cover that in a couple months, 3 months, well, 2 months maybe.
2
Wait,
months.
when does this come out?
Almost.
Almost 2 months. So we'll get there when we get there. Before we talk about Counter-Strike 2 and Breath of the Wild 2, I wanted to briefly bring up that the Dolphin emulator is getting a Steam release. It's weird. I've never seen an emulator get an official Steam release.
Like that's a legal nightmare, but
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to be a permanent thing. But in like the Steam Deck promotional video when it fully launched, like the Switch emulator was like on the Steam Deck they were showing off, so I don't know.
that's true.
But yeah, if you don't know the Dolphin emulator, it is specifically for Wii and GameCube. The Steam page lists it as like the Big N's 6th and 7th generations because I don't even think they can name Nintendo without getting legal threats and cease and desists. Frankly, I don't even know how they're doing this.
I feel like Nintendo's the worst company to try this with because they crack down on everything.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember when you used to not be able to even make YouTube videos with Nintendo content.
Yeah. They're still not great when it comes to that. But I am looking forward to this. If it's more streamlined than it is just downloading it off a shady website, I'm not sure. Like they have to really cover their ass though, because like even the game description, like in bold at the top, is like, this app does not come with games. You must own an original copy of any game you want to use with Dolphin.
Okay.
So, yeah. So that is coming out Q2 of 2023. So I guess from now until like the middle of June, I think. End of June? I don't know. I'm not a businessman.
Not good with dates.
No. But this is... I've never used Dolphin. When I emulated things, I was mostly playing PlayStation 2 and N64 stuff. Because those are pretty easy. But once you get into, like, more advanced things, then it gets a little more...
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I don't remember which one I used for, like, MMO and all the Pokemon games. That's, like, a separate one, too.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I know Dolphin is like the big one, and they have managed to stick around this long. So, who knows? Maybe this will be fine, but yeah, we're gonna see. I just thought that was interesting. And I think, let me see. I think that there's going to be like online for it. Like it lists online co-op and online stuff in the Steam page. So I don't know if
Interesting.
they run dedicated servers for stuff. Like if you
Yeah,
can
that's
play
weird.
Brawl on Dolphin, I'm not sure.
It'd be awesome, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wii Sports Online.
Wii Sports Online. I don't know about that. I mean, it lists LAN co-op and like split screen, which is like,
Yeah.
yeah, obviously. But online is a little. I've never heard of an emulator doing that. So,
Although
Well,
I
if
guess
you do-
PokeMMO does do that, so
true. That's true.
it is possible.
It's possible. I'm. Yeah, I'm just shocked. The Steam page is live, so if you want to wishlist it, you can. It's just a little trippy. But now we can talk about the two big news things, I suppose, that came out this week. We'll probably talk about Counter-Strike 2 first, because that happened first.
Right
Yeah.
after we filmed the podcast,
Right after. Very unfortunate timing.
we're used to it.
Yeah. But it was announced that they're doing like a limited release right now. So like it's getting sent out to people just sporadically over, I don't know how long this is going to be going on. I assume
I'm
until the
guessing it'll just go
release.
straight through. Yeah.
But yeah, it's based on like previous, how many hours you have in the game and like how often you've played it recently, I think.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem to be reliable because it seems like it's just kind of random at this point.
I think it is. They gave certain privileges to like the big streamers and stuff, obviously.
Well, sure.
But I feel like I don't know. It's Valve, so I'm gonna have to get used to this again because Riot has spoiled me for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they're always so transparent in how their systems work.
Yeah.
And then Valve is like, I don't know, just figure it out. So I think it's just random. I check every day because like I have 3,000 hours in the game, so hopefully I'd be somewhat higher up. But I also haven't played the game in like probably 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's been
yeah.
a minute.
Yeah, but it's very limited right now. I think it's only Dust 2.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, so I wouldn't even want to play it anyways.
I feel like it'd get old pretty quickly if you only have to play Dust 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they've released a couple of things on like new gameplay things. I think it's going to be more of a drip feeding kind of thing as they introduce more features. They'll open up the beta to more people.
Yeah.
I think it would be nice to follow the Riot model where you just like link a Twitch account or something, and then like if you watch a certain amount of time, you get access or something.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
feel like
the
that
way.
really helped Valorant like grow huge when it first started. But the big thing that they're promoting right now is like the smokes, because like
Yeah.
everything is updated now. The smokes look awesome. You can like shoot through the smokes and create holes. You can throw grenades on the smoke and completely delete it.
Yeah.
So that's gonna add like a whole new element to it.
Well, it like deletes it for like a second, and then
Yeah.
like the smoke fills back.
Yeah. So now that's gonna be even more advanced when it comes to like strategy at high levels and stuff. I feel
Yeah.
like because now you can't do one-way smokes at all. Like
Right.
the way the servers are set up is like what you see is what the person on the other team sees.
Well, and
Which
you
is
can
good.
like shoot through the smokes and like
Yes.
it like
The Negev will be
leaves a
great
hole.
when it comes
Oh,
to that.
true. Yeah, I didn't even
Yeah.
think of that.
Yeah,
There
but
might actually be a reason to buy
exactly.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know in CS like high ranked matchmaking in CS was awful with all the one-way smoke, so this should be good
Yeah.
to get rid of that because it was kind of cheesy at some point.
Right.
But everything reacts to lighting now. Everything like is updated to what a modern game should look like. I don't
Yeah.
realize how old this game is until I play it after watching the second or CS2.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this game is very outdated.
Yes, it is.
tick rates are completely gone now.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wanted 128 tick, but they just said, nah, we're just getting rid of ticks.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
I
know
think
how
it's
this
the way to
works.
do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how this works from a technical standpoint, but basically, from what I've seen, hit registration is absolutely on point, like
Yeah.
more than you'd ever imagine. I think movement is a little weird for people right now, but it's also a beta, so I think there's like some certain settings that you have to do for
Yeah.
it to look fine. But yeah, shots are hitting like incredibly like accurate now, which is
Mm-hmm.
good because I played on some 64 tick servers like this weekend after playing Valorant where it's all 128 tick. I'm like, ooh yeah, some of this is like I can see the person past my scope once I shoot and I still get them. So
Yeah.
definitely needed. All the maps are getting overhauled. So it looks like some maps are just getting lighting, like Nuke is just basically getting lighting.
Yeah.
That map has been pretty recently remade though, so they don't
Right.
really need to do much with that. But like Overpass is completely different. Inferno is going to be absolutely different, like 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But inventory, so CS skins do transfer over.
Yeah. I know a lot of
So
people were talking
a
about
lot of
that.
people are happy about that. The
Yeah.
interesting thing is there's legacy models and updated models. So there's going to be
Oh.
two different guns now because some skins aren't able to transfer to the new models.
Mm.
Like the USP looks completely different in this game than it does in the old game. So
Interesting.
it's like some models are going to transfer over and you'll have the new model with that skin, but other skins are going to be on the old one. So that's going to be kind of weird.
Yeah,
We'll see
that
how
will
that is.
be weird because then you're gonna like even if you have it like a USP in the new model and then like you pick up the one from
Like an old,
your
yeah,
buddy, then it's like ooh, okay, then you just have a new different gun.
yeah. So it's going to be interesting, but I kind of like it because this does allow people. I don't know if the value is going to go up or down for the old skins now. I feel like they also have a lot more freedom now to make cooler looking skins and more reactive looking skins instead of just using the same thing that they've done.
Yeah,
But yeah, everything just looks a lot better. Visibility is so good now. That was a main gripe that I had with CS coming back to it after Valorant because Valorant has such good visibility.
yeah,
You come back to this game, everything felt so just orange. I couldn't see anything for the first couple of hours I was playing. But
yeah,
that seems to be very fixed now. People said it was like way too colorful, but that's kind of what you need for high contrast in these kind of games.
yeah.
It shouldn't be that difficult.
I'm in that camp. I think
Yeah.
that it looks a little too oversaturated. I mean, that's kind of you know it's why I like Valve games, just period, is that like nothing in a Valve game is pretty. Everything is so
No.
ugly and like dirty and filthy and like these maps look clean.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean I think just like, you know, if you're not a fan of that or like you're just playing this as like a tactical game and you don't really care about the atmosphere or whatever, I don't think it's really gonna bother a lot of people. But like on the website, they have like a slider where you can like see the map in CS:GO and then like slide it, and so you can like compare.
Nuke looks really good. It is really bright, but it looks really good.
Yeah, I'm just, it doesn't look. It looks like a freaking Illumination movie. It's where
This is
everything
like
is just so
modern day
bright.
Valve. Yeah.
I'm just not a fan.
Yeah. I always play these games with high like monitor settings with bright color and contrast though, so I'm kind of used to it. I think people will get used to it. I think everybody's just so used to how gray this game looks right now.
Yeah.
I think like once everybody plays it, like they won't even realize that it's saturated, which is kind of the case with Valorant because at first that game just felt like it was like way too colorful.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they're taking cues when they need to, like how nades, like the area of impact, you have like little things that show you where your nade's going to land and everything, so that's good. Valorant does that very good where everything is very visible. Like it you would think it'd be like an insane mess when you have like 17 different smoke characters, but everything is so distinct. So I'm glad they're carrying that over. So it should be good. It looks really good. It's coming out sometime in summer. I don't know when.
Yeah, it just says summer right now.
Yeah, but I'm guessing the beta will continue to open up. So
Probably, yeah.
update you whenever I can get into this thing. I tried to go on my alt account to see if I could get access there because I know some people have been getting it on their alt account for some reason, but I forgot how to log into that account. So
Oh no.
yeah, it might have just been deleted. I'm not sure,
Oh, it could be.
but yeah. So very exciting. This is like 11 years after CS:GO. So
Yeah, it's about 5 years too late,
yeah,
honestly. But
yes, absolutely.
I mean, it is appreciated. And I think like the most exciting things for me is like the tech aspects behind it. I think the tick system completely being removed is very positive, and the like visual and like the not necessarily like with the maps, but like the gameplay visuals, like just everything is looking like way cleaner. The gore is looking a little more realistic, so it doesn't look like Gmod. Like the
Oh yeah, there's
Molotovs look
ragdoll and stuff
great.
now on
Yeah.
bodies.
So like that stuff is exciting. So I mean I'm definitely interested whenever they open this up. I'll have to give it a shot.
I am interested in how they're tackling matchmaking too, because I haven't talked anything about that yet. But I'm guessing that's going to be a complete overhaul since matchmaking in Counter Strike is an absolute mess.
Yes. I think the only thing I see on the website is in their like UI enhancement section. It does show the rank, and it's I can't even tell. It gets cut
That's
off.
global elite.
It's
Yeah,
global elite.
I'll be interested to see if they keep the same ranks or if they're going to update it a little bit. I would definitely go for updating it a little bit. It feels outdated. I think they need like elo sliders so people can tell where they are.
Yes.
CS is notorious for like having you win 15 games and not ranking up and then losing one game and deranking.
Yes, that's so frustrating.
Yeah. I do hope they carry over the short competitive matches that they do have in CS:GO. I'm sure they will, where it's like 1st and 9 instead of 1st to 16.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
are really nice.
Or like the unranked ones are great.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can just play and not or like play competitive the mode, because the casual mode is completely different.
No, yeah,
from
that's
the,
like 10 people on each side.
Yeah.
It's not, yeah.
So
Yeah, so
well,
I do hope they carry that stuff over.
I
Especially
would
since,
hope
like,
so.
because, like, on my account, I was, like, eloed out of my mind compared to you two, so I couldn't even play with you guys, so we had
Right.
to do that, like, unranked mode. So
Yeah.
I hope they open that up again. I'd be interested to see how their operations are going to work now, too. I would kind of be in favor of them opting to a battle pass system. I feel like it works for these kind of games.
Yeah.
Just for cosmetics and stuff. Just to give you something as a reward for playing, because I feel like that's kind of the norm now. And in CS:GO, you don't get that; you just get a random case every
Yeah.
4 days.
And like that's worth nothing.
Yeah, or like a skin that looks worse than the default version of the skin you already have.
Right. It's like battle scarred, and there's just like
Yeah.
2 flecks of paint on it. Yeah, I don't know. I know a lot of people complain about battle pass systems, where it's like, oh, every game has a battle pass. And when they do that in like a single player game, like we were just talking a couple weeks ago about that Suicide Squad game, put a battle pass in a game like that doesn't make
That's
any
weird.
sense.
Yeah, just something passive is for games like this because it's not your main objective at all. It's
Right.
just something you get for passively playing the game.
I think that's good. And
Yeah.
I think that battle passes in these multiplayer games are actually good. Like I'm a fan of
It's good incentive. Yeah.
of like when we played Call of Duty, I was a fan of that. I'm
Rocket League had an amazing battle pass
Rocket
system.
League is a great battle pass. Yeah. What else? Fall Guys.
Fall Guys has one. Fortnite Battle Pass.
Halo has one.
That's true. The Halo one was garbage, but it was there.
Yeah, it was there. But yeah, I mean, it's become the industry norm, and I feel like people are starting to get sick of it. But I don't. It's not broken. So
It
like,
works in certain games. This is a game where it would work.
Yeah, yeah. Would I love like some giant corporation to give away cosmetics for free? Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
not realistic.
No, we're long past those days.
yeah.
It would be interesting though if they set up like a camo system like Call of Duty does, where like if you get a certain amount of kills with like the AK, you get like a skin after like 5,000 or something.
That would be
That would be
cool.
interesting.
That would be a
I
good
just feel like
incentive.
I feel like FPS games don't incentivize like legacy players anymore.
No.
Like, just give us a skin where like if you get 5,000 headshots with something, give us a skin that we can't sell or trade. It's just like
Right.
an item you have.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like a genuinely great idea. Because like I feel like that's even like more impressive than just like buying a $250 skin off the store
Yeah.
or whatever, which might be why they might not want to do that.
Oh, for sure.
But
But skin collectors would go crazy if they actually have to play the game to get a super rare skin. Like,
that's true. They put the dragon lore, you'd have to get 5 million op kills.
Yeah. You have to win a major to get the the dragon lore.
Really incentivize people to make this their full-time job,
Yeah,
which
that's the
would be
goal.
great. Yeah, I mean, that's what
Give
you
me the
want.
happiest players on earth.
Yeah.
I'm at least used to the game again now. It felt so foreign when I went back to it at first, like because it's similar, but it's very different to Valorant. Like the movement and the recoil and everything is just so different.
Yeah.
Now it feels good, but before it was like, what is this? I feel like my bullets are going nowhere.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, it's just old. And
It is,
yeah.
but it's tried and true.
It's tried and true. There's a reason that it's stuck around this long.
Yeah, I think they reached a player peak of like 1.5 million this week, which is like their most ever.
I mean, like people are
Like a
trying to get this
11-year-old game.
drop,
Yeah,
which they straight up said that it doesn't work like that. So
exactly. I'm still playing it though. I need to get ready.
yeah, I mean, like I don't think there's anything wrong. I think they're just trying to dissuade people from just like joining
Like
a game
idling
and then
games.
just
Yeah.
sitting there and leaving or whatever. So yeah, that's the exciting thing. We'll probably keep you posted on that as that happens.
I should email John Valve and say I'm a gaming journalist and he should let me in.
You could cite the podcast.
Yeah.
I'd allow it.
If like if YouTubers with like multiple millions of subscribers can't get in, still, there's no way I'm getting in.
No, not if you cite the podcast. Even if you
No.
cited our regular channel, it'd be like, why are you trying to get?
Why are you doing this? Trust me, it's integral to our content.
Yeah. Have you listened to the Boy Time podcast? 'Cause that's where it's at. So, yes, there's that. Unfortunately, we were not able to talk about it last week, but here we go. I feel like we were able to talk about it a little bit better than we
Yes.
would on the day one. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise.
True.
Something that we don't have a week to talk about is this Breath of the Wild footage that came out earlier today. Which, I don't know, have you seen it?
I've seen parts of it.
Okay. I think that, oh boy, this is going to be a fantastic game. Just
I
based
saw
on
them like build an airboat, and I'm like, this is crazy.
yes, it's taking all of the tools that allowed people to go absolutely sicko mode in the first game and really just expanding on them and just allowing way more creativity in how you play the game, which is really what made Breath of the Wild special. I would say the two things that Breath of the Wild did better than most other open world games at the time is the freedom. Like straight up, I feel like the game is way better if you turn off all your map markers and turn on like the pro UI that like takes away all of like the temperature and stuff and how loud you are, because you can hear it and you can see when you're cold, because Link shivers or he like pants, and so then you can craft stuff, whatever. So So the freedom in that, and then the like just the simple basic tools that like they don't have a cooldown, they don't require any items, you don't have to rest at a bonfire to get your cool magnetic power. You just have that forever. And the entire game and all the puzzles that were built around it are all built around the same like 5 tools you get at the very beginning of the game. And each thing still manages to feel fresh and fantastic. But now it's been 6 years since the release of Breath of the Wild 1. And now it actually has some genuine competition when it comes to open world games. I think Donkey talked about this in one of his newer videos where it's like Elden Ring came out, took the ideas of Breath of the Wild and like completely went crazy with it. Red Dead took a lot of the ideas of Breath of the Wild and like just really hammered down on the story and like creating a realistic open world. So now Breath of the Wild, if it comes back and it's all just the same things 6 years ago, that would be frustrating and a little bit disappointing, I think. If they just added all of the islands in the sky and you just had all the same powers or whatever, I think a lot of people would get turned off. But it seems like they put all of their like money and resources into creating new and weird wacky things that you can do in this game. So there was 4 new abilities that were brought up in this showcase. It was unclear as to whether or not the ones from the original game are going to still be there. I don't know. But the first one this is a little gameplay showcase with E.G. Ayanuma, who has been the creative director on Zelda, on like the mainline 3D Zelda games since Ocarina of Time. So he's been around. But he showed the first power, and that's Recall, and that one may have been in the first trailer, in that you can like select an object and then like have time reverse and have the movements that they did in a very short period of time go backward. So he used it. There was a rock on one of the flying islands that fell off. And so he was able to stand on it and then recall it, and then the rock just floated all the way back up. That was really the only use of that one he showed. But there's potential there. I mean, they showed in the trailer where like Link like reversed a rock's movement as it was falling down a hill, and it went back up and it hit a bunch of enemies on the way up. But there wasn't a whole lot to go off of that one. Fuse was one that he maybe spent like 5 minutes on, because this is the weird one. Fuse, I think it's like a response to some people in Breath of the Wild. A lot of people brought up weapon durability as an issue, and from a like as a game making perspective, like weapon durability in a game like Breath of the Wild makes absolute sense, because you want players to try all these different things and like to have that variety and not just rely on one weapon over and over and over again, like a lot of RPGs or open world games kind of suffer from. Makes it feel the same, even though there are so many different options. If there's one option that works 100% of the time, then that's what people are going to use. So that was kind of Nintendo's first attempt at that. They're like, okay, we have all these things. People actually use them because they break after a certain amount of time. So even if you have this sword that you really like and it does a bunch of damage, it's only going to last for about 5 or 10 minutes of gameplay. And then you're going to have to switch to something else. So, to encourage that kind of variety. This time they're like, okay, you guys didn't like the durability thing. So this time, to try to encourage creativity and variation, y'all are just gonna be able to just fuse weapons together and just come up with some wacky stuff. So the ones that he used in the showcase was he was hitting some guys with some tree branches and they were breaking. He's like, this kind of sucks. Why would anyone use a tree branch? I know why someone would use a tree branch. So he fused the tree branch with a boulder and he created a giant hammer, a makeshift hammer with this tree branch and a rock. And then he was just using it to bash a bunch of people. It did a bunch of damage and it like increased the durability a whole bunch. So that was like one example they did. There was also an enemy that had like a wooden stick and they attached it to like a raft and it created like a fan. And I think the one that a lot of people have been kind of joking is that he had a spear and he attached it to another spear. So it created just a really, really long spear. It looked ridiculous when he holstered it because it was like 5 times the length of Link. So it kind of looked like it was from Berserk or something. But yeah, he was just like, as you can see, there's a lot of reach to this. It's like, yeah, I could have saw that. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that you showed it off, but there you go. So, but that it doesn't just apply to melee weapons because you can now fuse items to your arrows, and each one will have a different effect. So he attached like some. I think a kind of basic one is that there's the different choo-choo jellies that you can get, and each one has a different element. So if you attach like an ice choo-choo jelly to your arrow, then you're going to get ice arrows. I don't know if this is going to replace the system that was in Breath of the Wild where there just genuinely was ice arrows, maybe. But it gets a little weirder than that because he attached like a bat eye to the arrow and then that made it a homing arrow. So yeah, he attached a leaf to it and then he didn't show what that did. And I'm like, coward. I just want to know what everything does now. And then at one part, he attached like I think he called it like a puff shroom or something. But he attached this mushroom to his shield, and then when an enemy hit him, it sent off like this giant smoke bomb. And then the enemy couldn't see where he was, so he went around and then like did a sneak attack on him. And I'm like, man, this is gonna be crazy. There's so many different options that you can do here with just this one ability. I appreciated he spent like a really, really long time on it because this was the thing I was most excited for. As he was showing it off, I'm like, this is going to go so hard in like just encouraging that player freedom and creativity where it feels like once you discover this one thing that maybe you attach some meat to an arrow and then you shoot it at somebody and it makes a funny noise or something, that's going to feel like the best thing ever because you discovered it. It's this weird little unique thing that you didn't check a guide or you didn't watch someone on YouTube do it. You just genuinely had this experience where you were encouraged to come up with creative solutions, or not even just creative solutions, just like fun ways to see how this system works. And I think that's fantastic. I'm so excited for this. But in addition to that, he also spent like a huge chunk of time on Ultra Hand, which is a crazy name for what it is. But yeah, so in the second trailer, I think it was like the gameplay trailer. It showed like Link was driving around in a car, and then Link was on a big old flying raft, and Eiji Aonuma was like, yeah, you're not going to find those. Like, you're going to create those, and you're going to use this. So, like, as you're, going around, I guess you'll find, like, little parts. Like, he had, like, some fans that he found. found a sale at one point, and you can like just like kind of glue these items together, and there's like a rotate thing so you can get stuff pointing the right way. And so then you can build these like giant machines that, you know, will work indefinitely. So like that was kind of his response to like rivers and stuff. Kind of boring. Like there were boats in Breath of the Wild, but they were kind of lame, and you basically had to carry a leaf on you at all times just in case you needed to use a boat. And swimming was lame because your stamina drained all your stamina. So it's like you want to go fast and then build a boat and attach some fans to it, and it'll be a motorboat. It's pretty sick. This just everything about this is just I'm having troubles like even putting to words how cool this is, because there's like no other games that have been like encouraging this level of creativity, which like it's cool seeing like the building blocks, like how we're getting here, because it feels like this again is a culmination of everything that's worked in all of these open world games since Breath of the Wild came out. And it felt like Breath of the Wild was a culmination of all of the good things that a lot of open world games had at that time. Where I feel like the most direct inspiration for Breath of the Wild is probably Metal Gear Solid 5, because that game is, you can just do whatever, and that it's awesome. But there's one more ability they showed off in Breath of the Wild 2. This one was very simple. They spent a very little amount of time on it. But it is Ascend. So I believe they showed this in one of the trailers. But basically, if you're ever in a place where there's a roof, you can now ascend through the ceiling and then land, come out on top. And he was like, yeah, you can do this like on structures, and he went in like a little hut and he did it. But he's like, you can also do this in a mountain. So you see like this mountain has a cave in it. So I'll just walk in this cave and then use Ascend, and then it like played like a little animation of him like swimming through the rock, and then he ends up at the very top, comes out. And I kind of get what this is, because it's like climbing like a big old mountain took forever. So it's like, just get up there faster. That one was maybe the one I was least excited for, but it followed up Fuse and Ultra Hand, which I was absolutely goo goo gaga for. So that was the bulk of the gameplay. They were like, we could talk about the story and how we changed the world, but like we would run out of time, so we're just gonna talk about gameplay stuff. And I'm like, good. I don't necessarily care about the story, even though I am a pretty diehard Zelda fan. The story is definitely the weakest part of Breath of the Wild, and I'm assuming it's going to be the weakest part of this game. The trailer did not inspire any confidence that they got better voice actors or didn't hire the Xenoblade Chronicles people, because it just sounded like that game, and that's very disappointing. But yeah, it's going good. I'm very excited. I believe it's like May 12th, I think, is when that game comes out.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think it's the 12th. But yeah, that was pretty much it on that. He did announce that the game has gone gold. So, I mean, I guess that's good. Month and a half out from release. It probably should be gold at this point. So I'm glad about that. And then they announced a little Switch little thing that looks like the whatever. They do this with every mainline game where they come out with a Switch that's like a different color or different decal or something. So there's like a Tears of the Kingdom Switch OLED model that's like $350 200. I think it's 350 for like the upgraded one. So if you don't have a Switch, I guess there you go. I don't know who doesn't have a Switch at this point because it's like the third highest selling console of all time. But there you go. And it was not a Switch 2, like people were suggesting. So there you go. That's Breath of the Wild 2. I'm definitely... I mean, I think the last trailer, like with the story stuff, I was like, oh no, this is not looking good. The Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts thing was like, oh no, oh no.
I love Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts.
I don't want to build a car.
I want to build a car.
Well, now you can build a car.
And a boat.
And a boat. And a plane. I think he built a hot air balloon. He showed a hot air balloon at one point. Like, you
the
can
third
build
game is
that.
just going to be like City Skylines, where you can just build an entire like nation state.
Yeah. At this point, I don't even know where you go. Like, these... And I'm assuming this isn't everything. I don't know if we're going to get all of the old tools back. At this point, it just seems like these tools are just the same ones, but better. Maybe. Ultra Hand, like the way he was using it looked a lot like that magnetic power. So I don't know if that's just... If Ultra Hand's just going to replace it. Maybe.
It would be kind of tedious if you had both.
Yeah. I don't know what... Yeah, Fuse is just its own thing. Recall could be the stasis thing where you freeze people and you could just reverse it. Yeah, I'm assuming you're probably going to keep the bombs. I feel like that's pretty standard. Maybe the ice pillars, or maybe they might just get rid of those. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know, but this gameplay preview, I'm like in 100%. I thought that it was fantastic. It got me genuinely excited for the game, which I was already genuinely excited for. So I guess that's what you want. But I think that's it. It's for gaming. We're going to move on to, I guess, show news. We'll do that first. And everything in show news is Disney related. We did not watch Succession this week, unfortunately. We were too tired last night to watch it. And then I guess today we just both dropped the ball, which you'll love to see. I was planning to do it after dinner, and then some stuff came up, so
stuff.
No. I can neither confirm nor deny these allegations. So we might talk about Succession next week. We'll see. Depends on how we're feeling. Otherwise, we're just going to talk about the last season when we're done. So there's that. So yeah, everything we have here is Disney related, or at least Disney adjacent. I think the first thing to come out this week was there was going to be a Disney Plus Indiana Jones show that I'm assuming was going to... I honestly don't know. Like, there's no way in hell you're getting Harrison Ford to come in to do a Indiana Jones show. I'm surprised they were able to get him back for that newest movie. They must have gotten him like 3 helicopters or something. I don't know. But I guess there was going to be a show. But that is apparently not going to happen anymore. Disney is apparently forcing Lucasfilm to focus solely on Star Wars content for the foreseeable future. I think a couple weeks to a month ago, they canceled the Willow show, which came out. There was like 1 season of it. It got pretty good reviews of people who had seen it. I haven't seen the Willow movie, so I care. But from people who liked the Willow movie and were excited for more Willow content, they apparently liked the show, but it was canceled because Disney's like, Lucasfilm, you have to make Star Wars exclusively. Which, as a Star Wars fan, I like that, but also, I mean, Lucasfilm was, they're not just Star Wars. I mean, Indiana Jones, I would say, is probably has as much cultural relevance as Star Wars does at this point. Seeing as they're not making any new movies, Star Wars is just a fading memory in many people's
Let's go.
cultural consciousness, just like Indiana Jones. But yeah, so they're not making that. I don't know what to think about this, honestly. It's kind of disappointing, but honestly, the state of Star Wars is so bad right now. Like, everything is being canceled, and it seems like nothing is really great. Like, I haven't really talked about this very much, but I have been watching The Bad Batch. That show has been pretty mid, which I was pretty positive about the first season, but the second season has been mostly filler episodes. And then, like, the actually interesting things have been kind of pushed off to the wayside. The last couple of episodes have been pretty good, but what made that first season cool was it was, like, the immediate aftermath of Order 66 and how, like, the clones were affected and how the Empire was phasing out these clones. And this season, it raised this really interesting question in the beginning where it's like, now that clones have become more or less obsolete, they've been replaced by stormtroopers. What is happening to these clones? Because the Empire more or less just wants to, deny them any rights and completely cut them off, essentially. There are like a few senators in the Imperial Senate that are actively fighting for clone rights, and that is kind of interesting, where you have this group of people who are being denied rights by a fascist government. And it's like, well, let's explore that a little bit. If this was Andor, this would be the entire show. But unfortunately, throughout the season, it's like, oh, let's do a pod racing episode. Oh, let's go to Kashyyyk. It's like, let's talk about the actual interesting questions that you're raising here. But no, this show seems to be concerned about doing other things, which is a little disappointing. The Mandalorian has been weird. It's been really weird.
Pedro Pascal has a girl following him around now.
It's so gross.
Strange.
Which, yeah, so the structure of it just feels really different because, like the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, it's like, okay, we need to get Baby Yoda to the Jedi because those are his people. So let's give them off to the Jedi and we'll see. So then Luke takes him in season 2. And then in Book of Boba Fett, there's 2 episodes, which should have just been season 3, which is like the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda separated and like what their lives are like apart. Because in between seasons 1 and 2, they've been together for like 2 to 3 years. And then they're gone. They're separated. And, they're separated for like a year. So that would have been a really cool season where, you get to see what their lives are like apart, what Grogu's Jedi training is like, what the Mandalorians, like, he's trying to, like, save the whole Mandalorian people at this point. Like, that would have been a cool story. But they just resolved that in 2 episodes of a show that isn't The Mandalorian. So you have to watch the Boba Fett show if you want to get into this show. And then in the first episode of The Mandalorian, it's like, season 3. They're like, okay, we need to go to the Mandalore mines because I need to be redeemed and I need this droid. So the whole thing is going to be finding this droid so that we can go to the mines of Mandalore so I can be redeemed and be a good Mandalorian again. And then in the second episode, he finds a different droid, takes them to Mandalore, and just is there. He's cleaned up. And then it's like, okay, so that's the entire season arc. And now the Mandalorian brings Bo-Katan, who's the lady, to his other Mandalorian enclave. And then this last episode was a complete filler episode. The third episode was really weird because like half of it was like, it felt like it was just an episode of Andor. Because it was like this ex-Imperial scientist, and he defects after the Empire falls, so then he joins the New Republic, and then it's like the New Republic is like, oh, we welcome you, we aren't going to be like the Empire, we aren't going to punish you, we're basically just going to like reintegrate you into society because we're better than that old Empire. And then but they still like only address him by an identification number, and they're just making him do busy work when he was actually like a really well-renowned like cloning scientist. So like that's kind of interesting, showing how the New Republic, even though it's trying to be better, or at least it's claiming to be better than the Empire was, it maybe is falling into the same kind of pitfalls that the Empire fell into. And then it's like, now the Mandalorian's having fun in his spaceship. Pew, 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 pew. It's like they don't really mesh at all. So it's been a weird season. I think they said that it's been having like lower viewership than the other 2 seasons, which I completely get. Because if you don't know anything, or if you're like a casual Star Wars fan and you haven't watched all the animated shows or seen all the spin-off movies or whatever, I think you would be completely lost. Because like you have to have watched Clone Wars and Rebels to get what's happening in season 3. Why these Mandalorian things are so important. It's just really weird. It took like the most approachable thing that Star Wars was currently making and made it really like less accessible, which is really, really weird. But I did want to briefly talk about the most recent episode because we got like a Grogu flashback to him in Order 66. Don't really care about that. But what was interesting is that there was like a Jedi Master that like took him away from the Jedi Temple. And that guy is played by Ahmed Best, who famously, or maybe infamously, played Jar Jar Binks in The Phantom Menace, and I guess Attack of the Clones to a lesser degree. But this man was absolutely shamed, and he got the Kelly Marie Tran treatment, if you will, by Star Wars fans in the early 2000s. Basically got him like blacklisted. Nobody wanted to work with this guy because everybody remembered him for doing that offensive Jamaican accent in that Star Wars picture that was written by a white dude, and it's not this guy's fault at all. But it was nice to see him, I guess, back in Star Wars, and it's been nice. I've been seeing it's been mostly positive reception to him being included, and I think that's nice. It's nice to see that redemption arc, even though it is way too late. But yeah, kind of weird. But that's it. That's it for Star Wars news. I will no longer talk about Star Wars ever again.
Hooray!
Until I do.
Next week.
No, I don't think I'm going to talk about it next week. The week after I will, because Star Wars Celebration is, when is it? I think it's the 7th through the 10th, and If they announce anything, I'll probably talk about it. But who knows? But one more little bit of show news. I've been kind of talking about this. I've been checking Disney Plus like every week or so, seeing when this is going to get released. But there was going to be a new episode of Doug Days, that Up spinoff, that was called like Carl's Date. And it was going to be Carl Fredricksen from Up going on a first date with somebody. And I was very disappointed to hear this because what I feel like that might be the biggest spit in the face to Up's legacy. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like, Carl kind of moved on at the end of Up, where like he let the house go in favor of his new friends. So I guess it kind of makes sense that he would move on to, but it's just weird. Why would that be the new episode, is that you want Carl Fredricksen to go on a date with somebody when it's like the first like 10 minutes of Up is just establishing this loving relationship he was in, and that he took the whole movie to work on getting over. It felt like it was in bad taste. And so they announced it is no longer going to be a Doug Days episode. It is going to be the short that is playing in front of Elemental when that comes out in July, I think.
I think that's worse.
Yeah, it's worse. For sure it's worse. Yes. One of the things I love about Pixar, and at this point, Pixar is kind of going through a lull right now, but something that I've always really, really appreciated about them, and something that Disney has piggybacked off of, is that they use like the shorts that play in front of their movies as little testing grounds for up and coming animation directors, and a lot of those people that make the shorts end up making feature length films. Like, for example, the lady who made Bao went on to make Turning Red. I don't remember what short. The director of Onward did make a short before that, but I don't remember which one it was. But suffice to say, that is what they use these shorts for. They take a chance on up-and-coming directors. If it flops, it's just like, it's like a 5 to 8 minute short that plays before a movie. Nobody really cares. But if it's something really memorable, then maybe they're worth taking a chance on and maybe giving them the green light to make a full-on project, which I think that's really cool. And I know Disney started to do that with their shorts too. I don't know if they're giving that same kind of preference, or this is like kind of the next stepping stone to eventually make your own, feature film, or maybe they just see the success of putting shorts before movies and have done that with their animated movies. I don't know. But this just sounds bad. This putting this Up short in front of Elemental, you could have done something original, And I'm trying to think. Okay, I do remember this. When I saw Onward in theaters, right before COVID. It was like a couple weeks before everything went down. I saw Onward in theaters. And the short that played before that was a Simpsons short. And I remembered being very, very disappointed about that. Because I'm like, why would you use an existing IP? Come on, do your own thing. And now they're doing it again. And I would hate it if this would become the norm. Because Pixar shorts are sometimes better than the movies that play after them. Like, I will watch Lava over and over and over again. I need to see what Lava played before. Let me see. What movie? Oh, Inside Out. I've seen Lava like 6 or 7 times at this point, and I've only seen Inside Out the once. It's probably one of their best. So the fact that we are not getting something that is wholly original to showcase a new artist, and instead are getting an Up spinoff that kind of spits in the face of the movie that it is spinning off, is very disappointing. So, eesh, gross, stop that. But they're not. So, a little bit disappointing show news, I guess. I guess that could have been movie news too. But Doug Days was the show that it was supposed to come out on, so that's probably why I put it in show news. But yeah, that's it. Let's move on. The rest of the movie news is not going to be disappointing. In fact, there's a lot of stuff that I'm really excited about. So there's that. Okay. I'm going to talk about Star Wars again very, very briefly. I'm already breaking the promise that I just said. But this has to deal with Star Wars Celebration in a couple weeks. Apparently, Lucasfilm is rumored to be announcing 3 new movies at Star Wars Celebration, which you know what that means. None of them are going to get made. Or if they do, it's going to be like 8 years from now. And they're going to go through 3 or 4 directors and 8 writers. And eventually what's going to come out on the other side is going to be some sanitized corporate hogwash. Is it apparent that I'm very cynical with the state of Star Wars right now?
I'm very cynical with the entire Disney company, so
Yes.
you can't be worse than me.
No, but I think it's just disappointing because I'm a fan. So I have
True.
that added.
I have zero attachment.
Yes. You don't care about Star Wars or Marvel. I don't
Exactly.
care about Marvel. I will probably see that Guardians of the Galaxy movie though. Just because those movies tend to be genuinely creative
They're
and
quirked up.
cool. James Gunn's great. So, yeah, there's that. Now I will not talk about Star Wars for
Yippee.
2 weeks, probably. Martin Scorsese's new movie got a release date. Killers of the Flower Moon is going to release on October 20th. For those who have forgotten, the film stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Lily Gladstone, Robert De Niro, Jesse Plemons, a.k.a. Todd,
Let's go.
and Brendan Fraser. I guess I maybe should say Oscar, not Oscar nominated, acting Oscar winner Brendan Fraser. So there you go. That's exciting. The whale, that one shot of the whale.
One picture.
The one picture of the whale.
I can't believe he won an award just for that one picture.
I know.
It's the biggest award, too.
I know. Acting in a leading role for one pose. Crazy stuff.
He did it.
It is a little weird that they only use that one picture, right? Like for everything.
Yeah, usually you don't want to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who to blame for that. Because is it A24? I guess they would be in charge of marketing.
If they're in-house marketing, yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't think A24 puts that off on anyone. But maybe they do. I don't know.
It's usually hard to tell. It's not like it's public information most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. A24 is pretty big, though, so it wouldn't surprise me if they subcontract that out or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's exciting stuff. Leonardo DiCaprio has been calling it a masterpiece to people in the industry, which apparently he doesn't throw around a lot. I would like to know what movies of his he considers a masterpiece. Because if he doesn't consider Django Unchained a masterpiece, he's wrong. Well, Titanic's got to be the best. What's Eating Gilbert Grape is probably the masterpiece that he's talking about.
Yeah, that's true. The SpongeBob movie.
Was he in the SpongeBob movie?
No, I don't think so.
Oh. Well, I
It's
just
still just a masterpiece. Though.
of course. I want to know
general.
what movies he's in that he considers a masterpiece.
The Romeo and Juliet movie is probably a masterpiece.
Yeah, probably.
That's modern cinema at its finest.
It really is. It really is. It's just kind of ballsy to be like, I'm in this movie and it is a masterpiece. I am a leading actor in this movie and it is a masterpiece. Like you never. I don't want to just use Brendan Fraser as an example, but he did just win an Oscar for a leading role.
For one picture.
And yes. And he's been like, yeah. Well, I don't know if he's even said as a masterpiece. I just think he's like, he's mostly just been crediting Darren Aronofsky, which I guess, that's good, I guess. Thank your director for the performance you give. I guess that makes sense. I don't know.
I'm nothing without you.
I am nothing without Darren Aronofsky.
Without you, that picture would not exist.
That's true. That's true. So, there you go. That's the latest on Martin Scorsese news. We're very in tune with the Martin Scorsese news. His granddaughter has a TikTok, and it's weird seeing her make TikToks with Martin Scorsese in it, because it's like, this is, why are you here? Every time I see Martin Scorsese in something, it's like, stop. You're not supposed to exist outside of New York City.
I'm walking in.
Hey, or in Shark Tale. Those are the only two places you're allowed.
He was pretty good in Shark Tale.
It's always funny. Whenever people bring up Shark Tale, it's always like Shark Tale starring Will Smith and Martin Scorsese. It's like, you do not have to put Martin Scorsese's name on that. Like,
one of his finest performances.
It might be one of his only performances.
That too.
He's not in things, really. It's not like Tarantino, where he puts himself in like a bunch of his movies. Scorsese's strictly behind the camera for just about everything. So, yeah, we'll see if this is better than the roller coaster cinema that is MCU movies, as Scorsese so eloquently put it. But there's that. We got some good news in a potential sequel to Good Will Hunting, which is a movie that should not exist. Not Good Will Hunting, a sequel to Good Will Hunting. Apparently Ben Affleck was pitched a sequel to Good Will Hunting, and he straight up said no. I'm glad. I would consider Good Will Hunting to be one of the best movies of all time. Robin Williams.
It's one of the movies that is like the least open for a sequel.
Right. Like the only thing I could possibly think of, like, you have seen it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. The only thing is that, like, the ending is Matt Damon, he's going to see a girl. Like, that's the ending of the movie. He's leaving that big stuffy science building and is gonna follow his heart. I guess the only thing that's logically you're able to do is, I don't know, just have it be those two in LA or something, which sounds awful, but that's probably what Ben Affleck was pitched. Back when Ben Affleck made good movies. I just wanted to put a dramatic pause there because he did make a recent movie. I forget what it's called. Let me see. He just made a new movie, not Deepwater. It has him and he's wearing a beard. Air. That's it. I think it's a basketball movie. Oh, yes. It is the story of Nike, like, recruiting Michael Jordan to start making Air Jordans. I think it's the story between those two and, like, how that relationship changed and happened or whatever. I've heard it's like the ultimate dad movie, which sounds about right. But it does have a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, so I don't know. What do I know? I haven't even seen it. It comes out on April 5th, so who knows? It does have Jason Bateman in it, so it's got to be good.
Let's go.
Jason Bateman has never been in a bad movie.
That's true.
Oh, and Chris Tucker's in it. You don't see him
Chris
anymore.
Tucker's never been in a bad movie either.
Friday is a hit. The Rush Hour films are classics. I haven't seen any of them, but I assume they're funny. I mean, Jackie Chan is a funny guy. He's known for being funny. So, I guess that we just really stretched out that segment that said there's not going to be a Good Will Hunting sequel. So,
Yes.
at least until Ben Affleck dies, then maybe the studio will make it. But then it would be really weird because it'd be a really old Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Which, who knows? Ben Affleck will probably outlive Matt Damon. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how old they are. I know they were like a writing couple. I don't know why I'm exclusively giving the writing credit to Ben Affleck when it was both of them. It's like the first thing they wrote, and they won an Oscar for writing that movie. I think that was the only... Did Robin Williams win for that? I don't know if he did. I think it was just for writing. But, yeah, whatever. We got a new poster for the new Wes Anderson movie. The trailer is coming out tomorrow. Wah, wah. But we did get a new poster for Asteroid City. It is coming out June 16th. Oh, I made a note that is the same as Elemental. Okay, well, good for me. I wonder which one I'm going to watch.
Elemental.
I'm going to go see Elemental instead of the new Wes Anderson movie.
I just really appreciate animation.
Well, I do. I do appreciate animation, but I also appreciate Wes Anderson way more. His style is fantastic. I love it so much. I did show Grand Budapest to my hotel. Haha. Wait, did I already talk about this? I talk about Grand Budapest. I showed it to my girlfriend and she didn't really like it.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, she thought it was too pretentious. Like, I get it. Even though I really dig his style, I can see that it can be...
Like, The French Dispatch is, like, the pretentious version of that movie, but...
True. Well, she didn't even, like... I was like, yeah, Grand Budapest, it's like a funny comedy. She's like, it's not a comedy. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like exclusively a comedy. It's so funny. I love that movie. French Dispatch is not funny. Well, it has funny moments.
It's the same movie. It's just not as funny.
It's not the same movie. I mean, I guess you can say that every single Wes Anderson movie is the same, and you'd be like 80% correct. Because they do follow most of the same themes. Like Wes Anderson, I feel like all of his movies address some sort of father-son relationship. Or not necessarily biological.
Yeah.
Yeah. But sometimes traditional. Like Fantastic Mr. Fox is a father-son relationship. But Grand Budapest is not. Royal Tenenbaums is. Life Aquatic is, maybe. Owen Wilson plays Bill Murray's estranged son, but it's never... I don't think it's ever confirmed as to whether or not he's actually his son, or if it's just like something his mom used to tell him. Yeah, I don't know. That movie's great, though. Isle of Dogs, I think that might be the exception. I don't think there's any...
Dogs.
Well, there are dogs, but I don't think there's a father-son relationship in that. But yeah, he likes to have that dynamic in a lot of his things. French Dispatch, no. I wouldn't say there's a father-son. Well, yes, there is. Yes, there
One
is.
of them there is.
And one of them, the hostage one.
Yeah.
Which, yeah. But Asteroid City, I don't think we know too much about it. I think Margot Robbie is top billed, and then Tom Hanks is second, which is interesting because Tom Hanks is not a Wes Anderson regular. Almost all of the Wes Anderson regulars are here.
And Bryan Cranston.
And Bryan Cranston. Can't forget Bryan Cranston. But you got Jason Schwartzman, Adrian Brody, Tony Revolori, Tilda Swinton, Jeff Goldblum, Jeffrey Wright, Fisher Stevens, Willem Dafoe, of course. All of them except Bill Murray. Because Bill Murray is, I think he was canceled. Weird sex stuff. So he's not present in this movie. Edward Norton, I don't think he's in a bunch of Wes Anderson stuff, but he was in Grand Budapest very briefly. He was the guy that was checking tickets when they were on the train. He was the like Nazi guy that just spoke in a perfect American accent. He didn't even try, which is kind of funny because I think Edward Norton is one of the best actors living right now. But yeah, so those are all the regulars. But then you also got Scarlett Johansson, Maya Hawke, Steve Carell, Bryan Cranston, Hong Cho, Oscar nominated for The Whale, of course. Yeah, I think those are the big ones. But yeah, it's a star-studded affair, and it's I don't know, looking forward to it. It's written by interesting. It's directed by Wes Anderson, and then it's written by Wes Anderson and Roman Coppola, who Francis Ford's son, I'm assuming. Looks like he's worked with Wes Anderson before, which is interesting. I think he's mostly like a DP, but maybe he's breaking into writing this time. I don't know. But that's going to be exciting. I'll probably talk about the trailer when it comes out. I'm looking forward to it. We got some word on the next Ari Aster movie, not Beau is Afraid. Beau is Afraid is coming out in April, so I will talk about that. I'm looking forward to it. His last two movies have been fantastic. I guess his only two movies. He's only made two, but Hereditary I think is one of the best movies ever. That movie is so good. But his next one, he's just taken a complete right turn. I think Beau is Afraid is going to be his like transitionary point to maybe getting out of horror, because his next movie is going to be a Western with Joaquin Phoenix in it. So I guess he's working with Joaquin again, because I guess carrying over from Beau is Afraid. But I don't know how to feel about this. I think he's like one of the best horror directors. Like all of his shorts have an aspect of horror, I would say, or at least most of them. And then obviously Hereditary and Midsommar are some of the best horror movies. So it would be kind of a shame if he went away from that. But I mean, it's fine. John Carpenter didn't just make horror movies. Sometimes he made Escape from New York or Big Trouble in Little China. And that's okay. You gotta let them do their thing. Sometimes it'll even be good. Not all the time, but sometimes. So, there's that. And now I'm going to talk about movies I've seen this week. I'll try to be brief because this is already a long podcast, and I didn't think it was going to be a long podcast, but every time I don't think it's going to be
that
long.
every time.
I know I do. But then we get to talking about
Someone
stuff.
put a muzzle on this guy, am I right?
I'll be brief. But I watched 3 films. One of them is called The Host. The Host is a movie made by Bong Joon-ho before he made Parasite and before he made Snowpiercer. He made this movie called The Host, which is interesting. I feel like his stuff tends to be very anti-capitalist, anti-establishment. I haven't seen Snowpiercer, but I know that it's like a post-apocalyptic thing where there's like hierarchical societies on a train. And I feel like he likes to analyze society. Jared Leto.
Well said.
Thank you. But this movie is not that. If anything, it's an environmental movie, kind of. There is somewhat of a governmental thing, mostly about how the American government likes to shove its nose into places it doesn't really belong. Big
You
shocker.
mean everywhere on Earth?
Everywhere. But it's actually kind of an interesting concept. It's the host is what it's called. It's a terrible name for this movie. It doesn't make any sense. But I guess it kind of makes sense. But whatever, I'll talk about it. Basically, the movie starts and it's like a mortuary clinic, and they have like a bunch of like formaldehyde that is expired, so they can't use it anymore. And the supervisor tells like the assistant, and he's like, okay, you need to dump all of this expired formaldehyde into the sink because it's expired, we can't use it anymore. And the assistant's like, yo, we can't just dump a bunch of chemicals down the sink because that's going to go into the river. And the government like says that you can't do that, like we have to dispose of this properly. And the guy's like, whatever, that's an order, pour all this formaldehyde into the sink. And so it cuts to like, it's actually like the funniest shot in the movie, because it's like it cuts to like him and he's pouring a bottle, and it's like it's really focused and it's drawn out of him like uncorking it and like pouring the whole thing, and he sets the bottle next to him on his right side, and then the camera pans to the right, and it's like a 25-second thing of just like a constant pan to the right, and it's like this giant table, and like it's just full of empty bottles. So it shows that he's just dumping like an enormous amount of this expired formaldehyde into the river. And you should not put so many chemicals into the river, because it's a bad thing to do. It's bad for the environment. Who would have thought? One of the fish mutates and becomes a giant monster. Ooh. It has like a scorpion tail thing. It doesn't have like a stinger, but
The
it's
Rock and the Mummy.
it's exactly like the Rock and the Mummy. It doesn't have like a stinger. It just like is prehensile, so it can like grab onto things with its tail. And then it has like a tongue that like if it hits you, then it's like acid or something. It like burns your skin away. And so then it attacks one day, and the story focuses on. It's kind of funny. It's the dad from Parasite who's like the main character. And he has this bleach blonde hair, and he's kind of a deadbeat. He works at his dad's like food stand on the pier. And he has this daughter. The mom's not in the picture, and he's trying to be a good dad, but also he's a deadbeat. Not really a great guy. Everybody in his life thinks he's super pathetic. He has this sister who is a professional archer. And it is established that she like takes way too long to aim, and she gets like disqualified from this major tournament because she basically runs out the shot clock, and she releases her last shot like 2 seconds too late. If she released it on time, then she would have gotten the gold, but because she ran out the time, she only got the bronze and let her entire family down for some reason, even though she's a nationally recognized archer. And then he has this brother who's super drunk. But then the fish monster attacks, and it takes his daughter. And so then he has to step up with his family to find the girl, all the while being chased by the government because he gets into contact with the fish while his daughter's being taken away. And it is believed, or it is this rumor, that anybody who has come into contact with this fish and survived is now infected with a virus. Ooh, scary stuff. So there's that. So there's a running clock because he has like these cysts on his back and it's not good. So he has to fight the virus and he has to find his daughter. And it's, you look at the poster for this and it looks like it's going to be like a Cloverfield-esque monster movie. The fish is barely in it. It's just in it like causing havoc at the very beginning and then like at the very end. And then like the rest of it is like a family drama about trying to find the daughter and being on the run from the government. It's I mean, I guess that's, his shtick, is he really likes these interpersonal relationships. But yeah, but what's going on in the background is that the United States government basically claims that the South Korean government is basically inept and is doing a terrible job containing this disease. And
That would never happen, by the way.
I know. I know. So they step in with a chemical called, it's a little on the nose, but they step in with a airborne chemical gas that they're going to release on, people to get rid of this virus. And it's called Agent Yellow. It's a little on the nose. Just a little bit. But yeah, it's like this scary like pod thing that is like being hoisted by cranes, and then it just like releases a bunch of gas. And anybody that comes into contact with it is essentially killed. It destroys anything that's basically alive. Right, like microorganism that is alive. So if you come into contact with it, all of the like essential bacteria and stuff in your system is killed, and you just die pretty much. Yeah, it's pretty rough. So that's just going on in the background. That's not even the main focus. It's like on news footage. It's funny. Like at the end of the movie, like they're watching TV. The dad is watching TV, and it's like this news footage, and it's like this slow zoom out. Like it starts on the TV, and you're watching it, and you're like, oh wow, the U.S. is like claiming that it was the South Koreans' fault because of, of course. And then it like zooms out to the dad, and he's eating dinner, and he's like, this is boring, and he just like turns it off. It's kind of funny. But I thought it was pretty good. I was surprised that it was what it was. I was expecting a big monster movie, but it was kind of more than that. And I think the dad from Parasite is great. I don't know his name, but he is fantastic. I think, have I seen him in anything else? I think it's just these two movies, but I mean, he's great in Parasite, and he's really good in this. So there you go. So I watched a South Korean movie. I watched a French movie. Unfortunately, I did not like this movie at all. I watched... yeah, I know. This is the rare L that French movies have. I know. I tend not to like French movies very much, but this is a movie. I watched it with my girlfriend. She wanted to watch a spicy movie. So I'm like, how about we watch a gay French movie? Or a lesbian French movie. It's hot, I guess. I don't know. I thought it was. It was just kind of gross. And okay. I'm not even going to go super in depth in the plot. It's 3 hours long. It won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. It's like a super prestigious award. But it is NC-17, and it should be. It is. It was so graphic and so unnecessarily graphic. I am utterly convinced that the director did not care about making a movie at all and just made this movie so that he could film two women having sex. And I don't know.
I think that's just France.
Maybe. But this was so egregious. It was ridiculous how graphic the sex was. And like I know like some people they have issues with sex scenes or I wish I could just skip them, whatever, they're so unnecessary. They should watch this movie and then try to complain about the sex scene in Terminator or something because like holy crap, this is so much. We timed one of the sex scenes and it was like 7 minutes. And it's like the pacing of it is so whack. It was like it's like an hour. The first hour or so, there's like no sex, and it's this. I think she's like 17. She's 17, and she's kind of like discovering that she might be lesbian. She's like dating this guy, and like she's like having sex with him, but she doesn't really like it. And when she's by herself, she fantasizes about women. So she's like, maybe I'll go to this. She goes to this gay bar with her friend, and she meets this lady. Have I even said what this movie's called? I don't think I've said that.
Oh.
It's called Blue is the Warmest Color. Probably should have started with that. But she meets this lady, and she has blue-colored hair. And they immediately, like, kick it off. I want to emphasize the fact that the lady with blue hair is in her mid to late 20s. She's finishing art school, so maybe in her early 20s. And she knows that the main character is underage. That's like the first thing she says. She's like, what is an underage girl doing at this gay bar? She's like, how did you know I'm underage? But they continue talking, and the blue-haired lady meets her after school. She stands in front of her high school, specifically because she wants to talk to this lady, the main character again. And, that's when the red flag started. I'm like, what is happening here? Why? This is not okay. And maybe that's the point. But also, I'm not super familiar with French cultural norms. And I know that sex and this kind of stuff tends to be less taboo than it is here. I would think that underage stuff would still be okay, but I don't know. I don't live in France. I know they're weird sex perverts, so I don't know. But then it cuts to like a 5-minute sex scene where they have sex, and it is graphic. It's like you're watching porn. Like these two actresses, like actually scissor. They actually eat each other out, and they do close-ups. It is. It was like, oh, okay, we're just gonna do this. So like, we were watching it, and then my girlfriend would frantically rush for the remote whenever one of these scenes would come on, and like turn the volume down so that people in the hallway didn't think we were watching porn on TV, because that's what it sounded like, and it might as well have been what we were doing. It got to the point where like at like the last sex scene, we just like skipped it. Like we just kept hitting the 30-second skip thing, and then we did that. But then like the middle chunk of this movie is maybe a 10 to 15 minute scene or a couple of scenes where it's an actually pretty interesting character drama thing about this relationship. There's this big age gap. The main character isn't really sure who she is outside of this relationship, since she's been in this relationship since she was 17. And there's this power difference here because, her girlfriend is way older than her and is doing her own thing. She's living life, and the main character is still trying to figure out what she wants to do, but she isn't really thinking about that. She's made this other character her entire life. That's the sole source of happiness in this character is this relationship. And that is an interesting movie. And then it cuts to a 7-minute sex scene where it's these two characters just going to town on each other. And it was bad. Like it was like the weirdest like herky jerky thing where it was like, oh, interesting. Oh, okay. Now I just got to sit through all this sex. which is weird. I hardly ever make this complaint, but it actually was detrimental to the movie how many sex scenes there were. So don't watch this movie. It's not worth it. If you are a sex pervert, it might be worth it. But there you go. It's on Tubi. So it's free with ads. So thanks, Pringles. I think it's funny. It's funny. They won't advertise on YouTube videos, but they'll advertise on porn on Tubi. So
I mean, that's because they have to prove it going on their platform.
that's true. That's true. It's just kind of funny. And then the last movie I watched was Spider-Man 2.1. What is Spider-Man 2.1? It is the terrible name for the extended cut of Spider-Man 2. It adds a couple new scenes. Some of them were good. One of them was really bad. And one of them was J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man outfit. That was kind of funny. But yeah, the extended cut is not really worth it. There's one scene where MJ goes out with her friend. And for those who may have not seen Spider-Man 2 in a minute, MJ is marrying J. Jonah Jameson's son. And she's having this conversation with her friend. And her friend's like, do you really love this guy? I mean, you've just been in a relationship for, a couple months. She's like, yes, of course. She's like, do you love him? And then MJ's like, very much. And then the friend goes on this long monologue about how if you really loved him, then you would say, oh, I love when he walks in the room and it lights me up inside, and oh, my day is brighter every time he's here. Whatever, super lovey-dovey shit. And I thought that was pretty good. And then there's the scene, a famous scene, where Spider-Man, of course, throughout the course of the movie, is losing his powers. So he takes the elevator down, and then he gets in the elevator with a guy. And I believe in the original cut of the movie, the guy just says, like, nice suit or something, and then Spider-Man's like, thanks. And then they just kind of cut away. The extended cut does a very long, drawn-out scene where that guy is like a marketing guy, and he works for a marketing firm, and he's like pitching Spider-Man a bunch of ways to diversify his brand. And I'm like, I get what you're doing. It's not funny. Maybe because it's kind of weird. Maybe in like 2002 when Disney wasn't this giant, well, it was a giant conglomerate, but it wasn't like pushing out like merchandising for all of these Marvel and Star Wars properties and stuff they've got, where it's like this guy is basically just pitching to Spider-Man everything that Disney does with Spider-Man now. So it's kind of sad. But yeah, it was fine. I don't think you need to see the extended cut. It's not a must-see. It doesn't make the movie better. I would say it actually kind of makes the movie worse. If you want to see J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man outfit, that's on YouTube. You don't have to watch the extended cut. Next week, I am going to watch the Spider-Man 3 editor's cut and see if that's better. Probably isn't, but who knows? Maybe. Maybe the editor's cut completely saves all of the problems with Spider-Man 3. I doubt it, because that cut would just have to get rid of the black suit and Venom. Because the Sandman is actually interesting, and the new Goblin is kind of interesting too. With Harry becoming Green Goblin, that's interesting. Venom's not, or at least, Sam Raimi did not care about Venom at all. So, yeah, and that shows. So, that's it. Those are the movies I watched.
That's it?
That's it. Do you want me to talk about Spider-Man 2 more?
No.
I've already talked about it. It's a great movie. It's one of the best. Well, it's not one of the best movies. It's one of the best superhero movies.
He's talking about it.
No, I just wanted to say that it's good. That's it. That's it. Watch Spider-Man 2 if you haven't seen it. I think that's it. That's all I have. I'm going to throw it on over to the musical segment of the show.
Buckle up. We got an hour and a half left.
Oh, boy.
We don't.
Oh, disappointing.
There is a lot of stuff, but I don't talk. So, Swans had a new song come out last week, the day after the podcast.
Of course.
Which is
On a Wednesday?
great. Yeah. I don't know why. But, yeah, we got the first single, Paradise Is Mine. It's 9.5 minutes. I think it's really good. It's not like a standout or anything. There's no massive build to it or anything, but it's a great hypnotic groove. The guitar line is sick. It's a lot more like bluesy and like jazzy than I was expecting. They're definitely going back to the trilogy sound after kind of departing from that for one record, and that record was okay. But it seems like they're going back to massive, huge rock, post-rock, and experimental stuff, which is good. I mean, it's a formula that works. So, but they got some cool backing vocals, which is very foreign for this band. So adds a lot of new life into it. Yeah, I'm excited for this thing in June. What else did we get this week? Tyler, the Creator's dropping the Call Me If You Get Lost deluxe on Friday.
I saw that.
I think Vince Staples, a couple other people are on it. So I'm not sure how many songs it actually is. I'm guessing it'll be like 4 or 5. But just kind of like B-sides, stuff that didn't quite make it, but he still felt like he needed to release. I got really excited when I saw he posted something because it is 2 years. But I feel like it's a little early. So we'll see if this is the only thing he does this year and he takes a year off and then does something more next year. But I doubt it. He seems pretty consistent.
Yeah.
JPEG Mafia Danny Brown record. We'll have a reaction to that on the channel, but that did come out. It's been getting pretty good reception, so I'm excited to listen to that.
Yeah.
Also had Lana Del Rey come out. Did not listen to that, obviously.
Obviously.
Black Country New Road released the Live at Bush Hall album, I guess, on Spotify. Live album. I talked about that thing already. I think it's pretty good. There's definitely more songs that I come back to than others now that I actually have the songs picked out on streaming. But it's really solid. It's definitely they're digging more into their Baroque pop kind of art poppy thing that they were kind of leaning towards on the last album, which is good. I mean, it's not as insane as the last album, but it's very passable. It's still pretty sick. In terms of stuff coming, we did get word that the Mac Miller and Madlib collab album that's been rumored for like I think half a decade at this point is actually going to come out this year, which is crazy. So we'll see if that actually happens. I know Madlib just said it's happening. Usually when Madlib says something, it does happen. He's usually pretty quiet, so if he's going to say something, that he usually says, what he means. But very excited for this. This should be insanely good. This thing has been like floating around the internet, a couple loosey tracks, but nothing like the whole experience for like years. So I'm very excited for that. We got Boy Genius this week. We'll also have a reaction to that soon.
Yes.
It'll be soon. But that's also been getting insane reviews, so I expect nothing but greatness with that one there. What else do we got? Billy Woods and Kenny Segal are releasing their second collaborative album. Hiding Places was the first one, but one of the best albums of the last decade by far. So I think it's coming out May 5th or something. So pretty soon. I think there's also an Arm & Hammer album coming out this year too. So it's going to be another stacked year for that. But Kenny Segal is amazing. Really, he always gets like super unique producers. They're all very different and distinct. So I'm expecting nothing but greatness from this thing. I think it's all about like travel. So I'm glad he already gave a theme, because then it's easier for me to actually listen to the thing and not have to like pick it apart just to figure out what the main theme is. But super excited for that. What else? I felt like there was more. JID and Metro Boomin apparently have a collab album that's coming out this year. That'll be pretty sick. I feel like Jid hasn't done a collab album in a while, so I'm excited for that. More Jid is always good.
Yeah.
What else? I think that's the majority of everything. I think Danny Brown said his solo album is being like held up by his label, so we'll see if that ever gets anywhere. He said it's been done for like 2 years, so
Oh, really?
yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
Well, he just dropped.
Yeah, true.
Kind of. Well, yeah. Not a solo project, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll see how much of a collaborative album it truly is once we listen to it.
Suppose, yeah. Which will be soon.
Soon, TM. I think that's the majority of everything.
Okay. I don't think I have any music things. I haven't heard anything other than I did see the Tyler thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We did listen to the Black record. I don't know if we want to talk about that.
There's
That
not
did
much to
come
talk about. It's an album.
It came out this week.
It did come out this week. That video will be out.
Yes.
Next week.
Next Monday.
Yes.
So, if you want to know our thoughts on it, there you go.
Watch the video.
It's coming.
You will watch the video.
Yes. Probably should have done the JPEG Mafia instead.
Yeah. That's okay. We got the mid out of the way. Now it's the two good ones.
Yes. Unless the JPEG Mafia is actually really bad and everyone's been doing a big goof.
Everybody's just been joking. I don't know. Out of the two songs I've heard on it, it's bad in the best way possible.
Okay, great. I don't know if I like it, but it's probably
You
gonna
might
be
not.
fine.
It is unorganized chaos. It's not even organized. It's just all over the place.
Okay. Well, I'll be the judge of that. I might love it. Who knows?
Maybe.
I thought that LP was pretty G-dang good.
LP was very melodic. This album is not.
Okay.
This album is I don't even know. It's like a YouTube poop made into music.
I think when it comes to JPEG Mafia, it's like I'm not always like it's not necessarily my cup of tea, but if it isn't like one of the most entertaining things you can listen to, like it's a great first reaction.
Yeah.
It's just not usually something I put on.
Return to.
Yeah, but it's a fun experience. Like I'm looking forward to listening to it.
That'll be a fun video.
Yeah. That Boy Genius one I'm excited for.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's gonna be
Be
right
great.
up there. I still haven't listened to any of the singles. They keep dropping
good.
singles. I haven't heard any of them.
Yeah, there's 4 of them out of like 13 songs.
So, yeah, I'm pumped for that. But it'll be good. So, is that it? Is that it for podcast?
That's it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Very short podcast this week.
Yes.
Whoops. I don't know what took so long. Was it Counter-Strike? I feel like we spent a lot of time on Counter-Strike. We spent a long time on Breath of the Wild. I feel like I think those two back-to-backs took a long time. And then I talked about movies for too long. And Star Wars for too long.
What else is new?
Yeah. Well, I'm watching all these movies. I don't want it to be for nothing.
I need to make content out of it.
That's right. If I'm not making content out of stuff I enjoy, then what's the point?
Then what am I doing?
What's the point? So, leave a comment down below if you agree. I don't know on what, but just if you agree in
Just
general.
put it somewhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Leave it in the poll for this episode. Spotify keeps defaulting to adding polls where the question is just, what did you think of this episode? So if that shows up for this episode, then answer in the poll. What did you think of this week's episode? And do you agree?
Yes.
about something. Something I said. Was there something I said that resonated with you? Was there something I said that you thought was downright offensive? I don't know what I would have said. Maybe about French people. It was probably about French people.
That's justified.
So, let me know. Bye.